Hello everyone and welcome to Battle of the Beast Transformation Takedown, episode number 18. I'm Adam and today we got the third battle of round 2 where we're going to have two more beasts that's made it to this round to fight for one of those last spots in the top 8. So far we only know of two beasts that's made it through to the next round, them being Doomskull the King of Fear and Shamani the Raging Flame. So far, season 10 beasts. So, okay. Okay, so in this battle, we do have two more beasts fighting out, obviously, and another one is the Series 10 beast. So, will this Series 10 beast be joining his teammates? Well, we'll find out. Let's introduce the beasts. Representing Series 4, the Amulet of Avantia, one of two beasts to participate in the tournament and the only one to make it to round 2. The killer of Ronak the Toxic Terror, we have Equinus the Spirit Horse. Versus his opponent, the killer of Ospera, the savage sorceress, in round 1. A very quick but very bloody battle. A representative of Series 10, Master of the Beasts, which I don't know if I said. This beast has had quite a alright reputation when it came to the tournaments. In OG, he died in round 2, and in AG, he also died in round 2. So, will he be continuing the trend? Well, we'll find out later. But right now, let's introduce Lustor the Acid Dart. So let's swap sides actually. Equinus versus Lustor. This seems like an alright fight. Obviously not the most interesting, but that's what the generator gave me, and I'm happy with this. It seems like an alright matchup where it seems a bit one-sided, but I'm not going to show any bias. Let's get to the stats. Equinus the Spirit Horse, one of the most vile and dangerous of the ghost beasts who dwell in the Forbidden Land, is Equinus the Spirit Horse. His skeletal face is a mask of hatred and evil, frightening all wildlife in the dead jungle where he has made his lair. When Equinus is in his ghostly form, it is possible to see the beast's black heart. Age 310, power 189 or 189, sorry. Magic level 181, fright factor 85, size 148. Powers and abilities: spectral form, life force absorption only in spectral form, thick hide, enhanced speed, splitting and fusionism where you can split into a horse and a giant with a club, and speech only in the giant form though. Equipment is a club and anything he finds in his vicinity on the battlefield. Weaknesses is life force requirement, equalency to steal others' life force to live, and link to the other. So what that means is if he splits in two and let's say the giant gets killed, the horse would die as well. To also add on to another weakness, his spectral form is on a 10-second timer where there'll be a 5-minute interval between each time he does that. So he needs to use it sparingly, but also stall to go to the second spectral form. Lustor the Acid Dart. From his hiding place among the moss and rocks, Lustor emerges to reveal a toad-like face covered in warts. He has eyes like a fish and a long curling tongue beneath his throat. Beneath his throat is a sack filled with bright orange liquid that sprays in jets, burning through flesh. Age 328, power 235, magic level 159, fright factor 85, size 247. Powers and abilities: acid manipulation. He can launch acid from his throat sac, which is potent enough to burn through stone. Oh dear. Enhanced strength, heat and lava resistance, limited camouflage, and natural weaponry. Weaknesses is no acid resistance and pierceable throat sac. Okay, so that's the stats department done for Equinus and Lustor here. Lustor also has the ability to change to and from his knight form at will, which is the red knight with the sword. It is also to note that the red knight has the additional ability of being hot to the touch. So that battlefield, I haven't really fought this far, so let's go with, we haven't done this for a while. Yeah, let's go with the rocky terrain arena. So with that, let's get into the battle. As the chamber doors open, Equinus immediately barges out of the chamber, runs around the arena, comes to the center, and lifts up his arms, trying to command a cheer from the spectators. As the cheers from the spectators surround the arena, what's also heard is a scraping noise from the other side of the arena, where sparks are flying, very faintly illuminating a knight. As the red knight emerges and the cheering stops, Equinus stops trying to absorb all the cheering and then changes attention to the character that stole his glory. And he sees the knight. Wasting no time, Equinus immediately charges up towards him to take the life force. He goes into his spectral form and runs right through the knight not even flinching. As Equinus runs right through the knight just stops moving exactly where he is. As Equinus turns round, comes out of his spectral form, and just roars into the arena, just going on about how he easily defeated this beast. Nothing can stop him now. But there's no cheering. As Equinus, confused by this, turns round, he sees that the knight is still moving, only stopped briefly just for Equinus to run through, almost like, yeah, I'll play along your little game. Equinus, confused by this, decides he has to defeat this beast the old-fashioned way, but this knight. So he changes into his horse form and giant form, where the giant comes out with his club, walks up to this knight, lifts up the club, and swings the knight, knocking the knight to the side against the floor into the side of the arena. As the horse charges up towards him and lifts up both the front hooves and slams it down onto the knight's chest plate, where the horse immediately backs away, whinnying in pain from the heat just given out from this knight's armor. As the knight gets back up, the horse goes to attack again, but not wasting any time, the knight just lifts up his arm, elbows the horse away, and this time goes into a run, charging straight up towards the giant, who lifts up the club. Sword at the ready, the knight swings the sword at the giant swinging his club. Both the weapons clash, creating sparks flying from the club as the sword brushes against the club. What the knight does is then just laughs to himself and then changed into Lustor, using a spare hand to just push the giant back, and then using his tongue to wrap it around the giant's legs, pulling the tongue towards him, knocking the giant completely off balance. Lustor, in his full glory, comes up towards the giant, who's now lying on the floor, who goes to swing his club directly at him. Lustor grabs it with little to no effort and yanks it from his arm, and then, without missing a beat, lifts his head backwards with the club above him, chucks it into the air, and shoots acid out of his throat sac, going straight ahead of him, not hitting the giant, but also dissolving the club almost immediately. As he looks back down at the giant, who's just staring in utter shock at this, the giant wastes no time, goes to slash at Lustor's leg, and as he hits Lustor's leg, Lustor grunts and then roars in annoyance, not really feeling the pain, but more like, how dare you attack me, kind of thing, where he spits out his tongue and wraps it around the giant's neck and just constricts as tight as he can, strangling the giant as the giant's trying to claw at the tongue, but Lustor's not letting him do that so easily. He grabs onto the giant's wrists and pins him down as he's constricting the life out of the giant. Whilst the giant struggling, Lustor's just engaged in eye contact, refusing to let a single moment of the giant slash slip away from his vision. Without Lustor noticing, though, the horse form comes up towards Lustor, feeling the pain from being constricted, charges up towards Lustor, and using the front hooves batters him in the head. Lustor immediately rolls off of the giant as the giant gets up, struggling to breathe. And just like that, both forms merge into each other again, creating Equinus, who charges up towards Lustor and using the front hooves, but also his fist, goes punching at Lustor, pushing his front hooves at him, trying to knock him out, punch him, and all that. But none of it seems to be working. Lustor seems to be taking this, just moving a step back every now and then, just gradually, almost like, no, you're hitting me, but I'm not feeling it. Lustor then decides that he's done letting Equinus have his fun. He spits out his tongue, wraps it around Equinus's wrists, and pulls Equinus towards him for using his claws and digging it into Equinus's human arms, and breaking his arms at the shoulder blades. Equinus roars in pain as he stumbles back on his legs. But Lustor wastes no time and shoots out acid from his throat sac, hitting the floor below Equinus, where his legs are. The acid splashes onto the floor where Equinus's hooves are dissolving in the acid, but also where the splashes are happening, it's also hitting his legs and underbelly of his horse torso. Equinus is roaring in pain as he's feeling parts of him just being dissolved by this acid, as he's also trapped in this acid as he's just sinking down into it. Lustor sees that he's created a puddle of acid from how much acid he's spat out from his throat sac underneath Equinus. He walks up to Equinus, changes into his night form, and using his sword, he walks around Equinus's body, who's still struggling to even stand, and using his sword, just stabs it into Equinus's rear flank. As Equinus roars in pain, he loses all control on that leg, and any weight on that leg gives way instantly, and he falls to the side into the acid puddle. Equinus is now roaring in pain, trying to get out of the acid, but struggling with how many limbs he has left to work with. And as he's staring up at this red knight, begging for mercy, the knight just looks down at him with the same menacing yellow eyes that Lustor once stared into the giant with, and lifting up his sword, he brings it down directly on Equinus's heart, stabbing right through him, and struggling stopped. The screaming from Equinus muted. All that was heard was a gasp of air from Equinus as the knight withdraws his sword, puts it back in his sheath, and makes his way back to his chamber without another word. So that Lustor has won, Equinus has lost. Do you think Equinus should won? Please in comments below. I think that how my words final, and Lustor's moving on to the next round. Now, I'm fully aware at the start of the battle, Equinus did the life force trick, which is how he killed Ronak. Well, the problem is, the weakness with the life force thing, it only works if your opponent Equinus's life force trick only works on victims who don't have a strong enough strength of heart, let's say. Hence why it didn't work on Tom in the book because of his chainmail. But whilst the knight doesn't have the golden chainmail on him, I will give Equinus that. The reason why it didn't work is because it's a knight. Every knight is expected to have a strength of heart, and with that kind of leads me to think that okay, Equinus's go-to ability is not useful. And then you also got the abilities that Lustor has, which outmatches Equinus's easily, but also the knights, being battle experienced, will also be able to tackle a giant and a centaur and a horse easily. So, whilst I feel like the knight was just standing there, just taking the hits, like, yeah, okay, that may be a bit over the top, but really, I don't really see how the Equinus's strength could actually match up to what is Lustor's strength. I believe Lustor is durable enough to actually be able to take all the hits that he took, especially when he was a knight as well, by being battered by a club. I think he'll be fine due to, him having armor. But yeah, I don't see a way in which Equinus can win, and I think it was very obvious that Lustor was going to win. So with that, Lustor's moving on to the next round. And that is all for this time. If you like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll have 2 more beast fights out for one of those spots in round 3. We got 4 more battles to go now. Who will be the next one to make it through? Well, I'll see you, tune in next time, and we'll find out together. Peace out.